hated goodbyes, and standing on a railway platform often brings back such memories. When I turned 20, I moved from home and moved south, further south than London, to Basingstoke, England's answer to Cumbernauld. I was away from family for the first time and away from Ruth, my wife-to-be at the time, for weeks on end. And back in the 80s, while apart, we depended on letters and weekly phone calls. No texting, no mobiles, using public phone boxes. I remember coming off the phone and feeling down, or getting on a train and waving to family on the platform, and afterwards just feeling awful as the miles increased between us. I'd already started counting those days until we meet again. I'm not as bad as I used to be back in the day, but even so, today is a goodbye for me as I'm moving on from Carwardrick as your locum minister. I've mixed feelings of both sad at going, but immensely satisfied that you have a new minister in Jim, and also leaving you in really good spirits. I'm pleased that after 2.5 years we've reached this point. However, I did not anticipate this ending with the impact of the COVID-19 lockdown. Little did I realise that my last day on Mothering Sunday would be my last time in the church building to conduct a Sunday service. But as a result, I've had a guided tour for you around my home. But we're here in Patterton Station. So what happens next for me? Well, I'm not sure, but hopefully another locum, who knows, or returning to Hope for Justice after the lockdown. But I've learned through life that none of that is for certain. What is certain is that your minister is arriving this week. So railway platforms are not just departure points, but arrivals too, combining scenes of sad departures side by side with happy reunions and hopeful introductions. Both these scenes of arrival and departure reflect the reading for today, which comes at the end of Matthew and is described as Jesus' commission, but includes sad goodbyes to what was familiar, and yet the arrival of a new and promising future, what would be the Holy Spirit in their lives. It's a tipping point for Jesus' followers. It is Jesus saying goodbye, his final words, and they are quite revealing about many things we encountered just now. The lockdown measures being eased can be very unsettling for some of us, especially when it doesn't seem to make any difference to some who just seem to ignore it, even these recent measures. It makes us wonder how to stay safe, even with Nicola's nice wise words. It doesn't necessarily fill us with resolve. And with those feelings we can be frozen, unsure what to do, and in the end we're tempted maybe to do nothing. But I'm not sure that that's the best option open to us. At home I have a couple of skylights that open up in my studio during some of these warm days that we've had. However, before I open them up, they're usually just a buzzing sound of flies. And even when I open up these skylights to set them free, something strange happens. Even though the window can be fully open, the flies just seem to insist bouncing off the window pane. But then some realize, unhindered, they can just fly away. And there is another way not to do nothing and to maybe see a way forward during this time of change. It's an age-old dilemma trying to figure out how to change our ways, but Jesus' words spell it out for us, for his first followers, so they can change and we can learn a thing or two from them as well. Some are really unsure. In fact, in one version of our reading it says that some actually doubted. Imagine after all this time and being in the presence of the Son of God, and now after this resurrection, what more proof did they need? But again, something more is happening than Jesus just going away. They are discovering that their image of God is far too small. This is not just about Jesus being alive again. It is that God, in their mind, has just become much bigger. And it's blown their minds away. What Father, Son and Holy Spirit? It just shows you that even with all this, people struggle with faith, but maybe more accurately, they're struggling with their expanding faith. But unlocking faith opens us up to engage with change. Change in circumstance, change in people, change in ministers, but even more than that, a change of perspective, which is day after day after day event for us all. I've struggled with change in the past and even now. Why? Well, the bottom line is that my idea of God still is far too small, and God challenges that daily to remind me God is much bigger and so much more than my imagination. It's one of the truths of today in the church when we focus on what we call today Trinity Sunday, reminding us of the complexity of Father, Son and Holy Spirit. It's a day to remind us forgetful souls that God is a lot more complex than we dare to imagine, as we cushion ourselves with the comfort of maybe something familiar against this enormous and scary world that we live in. But today, we remember God is bigger than all of that and is in control. And that's why Jesus offers us this constant promise of God to his first followers and to us. God is with us to the end of the age. So regardless of the minister, regardless of the circumstances, God is with us. He's greater than change. He will be with us through the change. Some of Jesus' first followers got it straight away. How was that? Well, they worshipped, fully devoted. They were demonstrating a long obedience in one direction. They were all in. Now, some of you are experts in that. You've stuck with Carnwardic. Indeed, you have seen ministers come and go. You have seen projects start and stop and start again. You have seen people come and go. You've actually seen people who have been born and then die. But you have been through it all. One constant remains. God is with you always. You are all in. Don't underestimate that of yourselves. Your faith has helped my faith. Some of you may have more years of service than you wish to confess to, but that speaks for something. Don't forget it. Whether you are a worshipper or a doubter, or a bit in between, or you're one day and one the next day, there's hope for us all. And the clue is in one word in our reading. It's an interesting word, and it's used to describe Jesus in the message, undeterred. Sometimes change by consensus is a good thing, and you need to take folks with you. But at other times you have to bite the bullet and make a move. You just have to get on with it. This is what Jesus did. He did not have a perfect situation. Not everyone was on board, but he went forward with the next step. It's a bit like what is happening now. For us at Carnwardic, the lockdown doesn't mean these circumstances are ideal for change, but there's a need to change and move forward. And the induction of Jim this week is a very good thing for Carnwardic Church. As a people, we need to be undeterred, regardless of feelings. There is something to be done, and we need to get on with it. As Nicky Gumbel said, faith first, feelings follow. Feelings will catch up. It might not feel like it just now, but they will. Like I've said before, assess it at the end. One thing that Jim has that I've never had for Carnwardic is committing full time. Jim can, and this is what is needed at this time for Carnwardic Church. And what is significant in this week is Jim's induction, because Jim is taking up the commission of Jesus and to his first followers, and he's here to do God's work in God's way. It reminds me of a description about faith being more than knowing about something, but actually knowing someone. It's more than seeing the train arrive at a platform. It's knowing that it's time to get on it and be all in. For you at Carnwardic Church, it is an all-in moment in the life of the church, and it requires some steps on your part. It will be no surprise that there are some questions I'll put to you. See, don't settle for the formality of the past. God has a bigger plan for the future. So what's your part in that at Carnwardic? You know, it's okay to be a doubter, but we believe in a God who is undeterred and is on the move. Why not just enjoy the ride and see where it takes you? It's time to be all in. You can just let your feelings catch up. One other way that we may know that God is with us today and the day after and the day after that is the support of prayer. I'll pray for you and you can pray for me. I haven't a clue about what happens next, but remarkably I have a faith that God has. There's a line from an old hymn that I can hear in my mind. My dad singing it. God holds the key of all unknown, and I am glad, for if he trusted it to me, I might be sad. He was a prisoner under lock and key for 3 years as a missionary by the Chinese Red Army in the 1950s. He had good reason to sing it. God holds the key of your life. Be glad about that. He has it for Carnwardick. I'm really glad about that. So stay safe, take care, till we meet again, and God bless.